Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. Today we are continuing the series where I talk about the Power 9 in each color identity of Commander. Today we are talking about the Power 9 of Blue. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, click on all those links in the description down below. You can get a free $15 whenever you click on that whatnot link, 10% off all of your Tolarian Library proxies whenever you use code DT for D. And last but not least, if you guys would just like, comment, and subscribe, I really appreciate it. I know it's super annoying to ask, but it really does help me in making this content for you guys. So if you enjoy, a like goes a long way. Now let's get right into it. The first card that's going to make this list is Hullbreaker Horror. This is a 7 CMC creature Kraken that has flash, and this spell can't be countered. Whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. You can return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or you can return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and then it's a 7/8. This is commonly used to end out the game in any commander deck that can generate infinite mana, or it can utilize infinite mana reliably. Because what this guy does 9 times out of 10 when he's not just being an absolute menace and he's not doing this, is he's going to allow you to cast something like a Soul Ring and bounce another mana rock back to your hand, and then you can cast that mana rock bouncing the Soul Ring back to your hand, and you can kind of just generate infinite mana this way. Then you can sink it into something like a Thrasios and draw your entire library. That's basically the play pattern of this guy and why he's so broken and why we see him in so many commander decks. And then when he's not doing that, he's just either messing with the stack, because remember, all we have to do now to counter someone's spell is essentially just cast a spell and return that spell back to their hand, which is absolutely messed up. This guy just controls the game as soon as he enters the battlefield. I did want to give a shout out to Tidpout Tyrant. This guy did it before Hullbreaker Horror, but Hullbreaker Horror just does it a little bit better. And Tidpout Tyrant does have some niche scenarios where he's better, wherever you're trying to not Eldritch, but the other instant that allows you to sacrifice a creature, then search for a creature with 1 CMC more and put it onto the battlefield. So I see it in Dargo decks, because you sacrifice Dargo to grab this guy, and then you go infinite and you draw your deck with Thrasios. So pretty busted. He's going to get a mention here, but again, I just think Hullbreaker Horror is a little bit better. The next creature we're going to be talking about is not going to be a surprise. It is Thosas Oracle. This has a wall of text, but we only really care about one of it. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if you have devotion higher than the amount of cards in your library, you are just going to win the game. And then it also has 2 devotion to blue. But what's commonly done here is people are just going to get rid of their entire library through a card with demonic consultation that allows them to name a card and remove a card from the top of your library until you find that card. Well, it's very simple, just to name a card that's not in your deck. Then you get to exile your entire library. Thosas Oracle enters the battlefield, and even if they remove Thosas Oracle, you have 0 cards in your library, so you do still win the game. Now, there's some safer ways to do this to ensure that people don't draw you the card or whatever, but we're not talking about that today. We're talking about how broken Thosas Oracle is, because it basically says whenever it enters the battlefield, you win the game. In the decks that play this, that's exactly what this card is doing, so it's going to make the Power 9 list. The next card we're going to be talking about is Kindred Discovery. This is more of a casual side of things, but it's seen play in so many decks, and it's so broken in those decks, I don't think we cannot talk about this card. It's a 5 CMC enchantment that says, as Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, you get to draw a card. So the card advantage in your Kindred decks is absolutely insane now. Every time a pirate attacks, you draw a card. Every time you cast a pirate, you draw a card. The card advantage here is insane. The decks that play this card, it is 9 times out of 10 the best card in the deck, just because of the amount of card advantage. The next card we're talking about today is Mystic Remora. This is a 1 CMC enchantment that has a cumulative upkeep of 1, meaning every single upkeep are going to have to pay an increasingly more amount of mana to keep it onto the battlefield. So we better get a powerful effect, right? And we do. Whenever an opponent successfully casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card that, unless that player pays 4 to counter this effect, which is not gonna happen, guys. Every time they cast a non-creature spell, you are just going to straight up draw a card. I will say this sees more play in CEDH than casual, but I'm not gonna lie, this is really good in casual as well. It just becomes more of a late game card instead of an early game card, right? In CEDH, you want to get this down as early as possible. That way you can draw cards off of everybody's mana rocks entering the battlefield. And in regular EDH, casting this late game where people just need to get their spells off is very impactful. They're not going to care about giving you a card, and they will feed the hell out of this thing, and you will draw a ton of cards. I just don't think it sees a lot of play, because the skill expression you need to play this card is going to be higher than the normal card that just says, hey, go ahead and draw a couple cards. The next card we're going to be talking about will surprise no one. It's Cyclonic Rift. This is a 2 CMC instant that says return target non-land permanent you don't control to your owner's hand. It also has an overload cost for 7 mana that says you may cast this spell for its overload cost. If you do, change target in its text to each. meaning we can just bounce every single opponent's board while leaving our board unchanged. It's also an instant, meaning we don't have to cast it on our turn and just pass. We can cast it on our opponent's end step, bounce their entire board, and then we have a whole turn to get ahead of our opponents while they are sent back to the Stone Ages. This card, put simply, just wins games. Mystical Tutor is more of a simple add. This one allows us to pay 1 mana, search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top. Again, not super flashy, but it's a super powerful effect. It's always going to find you the most important piece you need at that time. Whether it be a board wipe, whether it be the instant or sorcery that wins you the game, whether it just be a removal piece to get rid of a certain target thing. This card's just super flexible, and that makes it really powerful. Now, I did want to talk about our next slot because honestly, this list could have been like 5 counter spells. That's a boring list. So then I decided I'm going to put all the counter spells in one slot since I make the rules, and then everybody will be happier that way, right? We get a more interesting video, and you guys still get to see some powerful counter magic. And maybe it's not such boring of a list, right? I might do the same thing with black whenever we talk about tutors, because black just has a lot of very powerful cards that allow you to tutor things. So let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Some of the most powerful counterspells that I see in our format are Fierce Guardianship. This is a 3 CMC counterspell that says if you control your commander, you may cast a spell without paying your mana cost. And then it says counter target non-creature spell. Absolutely broken. Force of Will's the next one. You may pay 1 life and exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. And then it says counter target spell. Mana Drain had to make the list as well, 2 CMC, counter target spell at the beginning of your next main phase at an amount of colorless mana equal to the spell's mana value. And last but not least, we have Pact of Negation. This one costs 0. It says counter target spell. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you have to pay 5 mana. If you don't, you lose the game. Now that seems absolutely insane, but 9 times out of 10, Pact of Negation is the card you use to protect your win attempt or just flat stop someone from winning the game. So it's still super powerful in what it does because there's not a lot of just free counter magic, and once you tap out, your opponents get lured into a false sense of security. They think they can easily stop you, and then boom, they eat a Pact of Negation to the face and lose the game. And that's going to do it for... I'm joking. I didn't forget. Rhystic Study. It had to make the list. Are you guys going to pay the 1, right? You going to pay the 1? Who made it this far in the video to see Rhystic Study, and who's already complaining in the comments? Go down there, check it out, let me know. Anyway, this is a 3 CMC enchantment that says whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1 mana. Absolutely broken card. This card almost saw no play until the commander format, and then it's like, oh wait, this card's just broken because you're against 3 opponents. That's going to do it for blue, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.